Well, hey there, stranger. I hope that you're having a good day. I hope that your week was smooth. I'm happy to see you. Thank you for coming and hanging out with me. And so I'm gonna get straight into it. If you like it, make sure that you like it. And we're going to have a little bit of a dialogue here because I'm open to the idea that I'm wrong, that I'm crazy, and that sort of thing. Of course, our intention here is to just be respectful. We could disagree, it's not a big deal to me. Because there's a variation of perspective points and so on. So share with me what you like. And I'm going to preface this again. I said it in my last video. I am a J. Cole fan. So if you are not indeed a person that's open to just discussion, you probably should click off of this because you're probably not going to like the conversation. But if you are intrigued, if you are also a J. Cole fan, tell me what you think. If you're not a J. Cole fan, you could tell me what you think. So I'm going to start off with my critique of him. As per the title, the intention was to look at this from a perspective of like what everyone else is saying, right? Like I'm seeing people go in the comments, but of course, the comments are kind of just like rage baity, kind of like y'all are kind of tripping. This doesn't really make sense. But there is an important thing that's happening in this discussion, and it's about understanding what brought about this whole beef situation. And J. Cole's perspective is giving an important element of clarity as far as I'm concerned, right? So here is my conspiracy. So while I was thinking about his critiques, the conspiracy emerged. My biggest critique of J. Cole is that he's too nice. Full stop. Full stop. Like when I tell you under no circumstances do I want to hear him say anything positive about Kendrick and Drake again, I don't want to hear it anymore because I think that they played in his face. And I'm going to tell you why. This is where the conspiracy comes in. So there had been a whole bunch of conversation about this idea that first person shooter was supposed to have all three of them on it. And there was all of this stuff, and that Rory and Mal was talking about the two features from both. It was two features from Kendrick, two features from Drake on the fall off. It's all of this conversation that's happening, and we're starting to realize that some of these conversations were accurate and some were misleading. And somehow J. Cole kind of kept falling on the sword for what went wrong, which is interesting because he didn't do anything, but people are trying to change the conversation about what he did on the first person shooter record, trying to make that a diss record. It was never a diss record. Nobody heard that and felt like it was a diss record, but they're trying to change the narrative because they want Kendrick Lamar to be perceived as this great, superior guy that isn't like provoked by almost nothing. But I don't think that he was provoked by nothing the more I sit with or listen to these podcasts where J. Cole is kind of filling in the gap. So let's go back. He was recently on 7 p.m. in Brooklyn, and I may chop out the clip so that y'all can see it, but I really want people to go and watch
What
it.
was the rumor that Drake was supposed to be at Dreamville Fest?
That actually is true. He was supposed to be at Dreamville Fest. That was planned. He was coming. He didn't come. Thank God he didn't come. No disrespect to Drake. I love Drake. But like, had he come, I would have felt more pressure to be on stage representing that energy. Way before Kendrick's song dropped, he was supposed to come. I was trying to get Kendrick to come too. My plan for Dreamville Fest that year, mind you, I never got a chance to like, it's crazy because like when we was on tour, I'm like, yo, it'd be crazy if both of y'all came out at Dreamville Fest, boom, boom. It's silly now to say, you know what I mean? It's like, nah. there were other plans.
Y'all all supposed to be on first person shooter together, right?
I'm not gonna say we were all supposed to be. How it came to me was before that beat ever made it to me, I think Drake wanted that to be a him and Dot song. My interpretation is like it wasn't moving fast enough or he wasn't getting the response he wanted. Maybe he was like, let me hit Cole. Cause I think Boy Wonder was pushing like, bro, you need to hit Cole, boom, boom. Mind you. So I never looked at that song like it was gonna be all of us. I thought it was me and Drake and I just had the beat and I felt mad pressure because I wanted to come through for him. I had to write that verse several times. With so many lies, they're actually saying things that are like half truths. Drake's supposed to be coming to Dreamville Fest? Yes, half truth. And he actually told me, he was like, and I appreciate him for doing this. He's like, yo, bro, I didn't want to come down there and put you in a situation on that stage and say something that you would have to stand behind. And I'm like, thank God that you didn't because it left the space for me to receive what I was supposed to do.
I don't want to take away viewership from anybody else, and I don't need no copyright claims, right? So he's talking on this podcast, and the conversation is about two perspectives. The idea that first person shooter was supposed to have all three of them on it, and what happened that Drake was supposed to be at the Dreamville Fest, right? J. Cole answers and clarifies this, which again, like, it's a dope thing to just have a person give their side of the story. So in both cases, he's saying that he believes that first person shooter was intended just for him and Kendrick. He was like, I don't think that I was supposed to be a part of that. I think that that was something that was meant for them too. When he said that, and he said that Boy Wonder was supposed to be the one that like was like, you hit up Cole. While he believes that it was just meant for them two, I actually don't believe that. I genuinely believe that it was meant for all three of them and that Drake just didn't tell him. And the reason that I believe that is because what Cole is still not really leaning into or acknowledging, again, the too nice part of this somewhat obtuse part of this, it's like you had been talking to him about wanting to have the big three present on your body of work. So again, Cole also talks about Drake was supposed to be at Dreamville Fest. Cole also mentions that he told Drake that he wanted Kendrick to also be at Dreamville Fest. That he wanted all of them to be in the same space. Like, yo, it's enough room for all of us. Like the big three it's a gang. Like this is the biggest hip hop has ever really been. Like kind of like it would have been a massive moment. And what I'm seeing more people say is that, like, so you mean to tell me that all three of y'all would have been working together? That would have been $1 billion experience. Kendrick wasn't with it. But here is the thing about that. Outside of what Kendrick did and how that was weird to me, there is this underbelly of Drake, you tried to step in front of Cole unifying the big three. You tried to take credit of this big three thing. And the reason that I'm thinking about it that way is because J. Cole was actively working on it, which is why the big three even came up in the song, is my perception. Like, hear me when I tell you, I'm paying attention to like little things that people do authentically. If you pay attention, like on J. Cole's album, for instance, right? Like he has a few songs where he talks about like the woman that he's with and the person that he loves. But when you think about it, when he structured the second half of the disc, when he's doing disc 39, there is this fallout that happens. And so now the relationship between him and his wife is also at the forefront, which he talks about, right? He was like, yeah, like, yo, she was upset when I went to do the apology. That moment was significant, which is why you see it on the album. So he is a person that is pen to paper about what's happening in his real life. So again, when he does the first person shooter, he says that Drake sent this and he's like, yo, he didn't send anything but the beat. And I'm like, he didn't send anything but the beat. And this is why I believe that Drake was very much intentionally trying to work J. Cole's idea that would have been massive. Because imagine if the fall off had gone the way he planned and Drake was able to bring together Kendrick, J. Cole, and himself on a single track. The idea would have looked like it came from Drake originally. Meanwhile, it was Cole that had the idea in the first place. Does that make sense? When I tell you that I've been sitting with that, and I thought this from before this podcast came out on Friday, and I didn't even listen to it in its entirety. I'm catching these clips. And once this confirmation came, I'm like, yeah, I have to talk about this. Drake was playing in his face. And I think that this is the part of it that makes it look crazy. Because when J. Cole does this whole thing and he has the two of them featured on the album, and then you have Drake who is now taking this idea and bringing them on a song together, or there's this perception that him and like Drake is like, oh, me and Kendrick must be friends now because we're featured on an album together. Don't that look crazy? And so now you have Kendrick who sees that and was like, I hope they're not trying nothing funny, because if not, I'm YMW Melly. Does that mean? So now I'm looking at it, and hear me when I tell you, this is not an instance or a case of I believe that Kendrick is now cool, but I understand better what he could have perceived in this entire process, where it looks like Cole is doing something weird or trying to force something because Drake decided he was going to jump in and just like, yeah, like, well, if Kendrick is being cool and he about to do this big three thing, let me be the person that goes ahead and releases the first person shooter with all three of us on it. And the first person shooter is the person that does the best, and everybody can decide based on the reviewing of hip hop. Like hip hop fans could decide that. But it would have been his track and it would have been his worth, his mobility. It would have been for him. And he would have had the capacity to go and negotiate with UMG. And he would have got that $1 billion deal. Because look what he was able to do. And Kendrick said, absolutely the fuck not. We're not doing that. And I think that the only person that was out of the loop and genuinely just not paying attention or didn't think that people could be that grimy is Cole. And I say that from a place of, I have been not necessarily obtuse, but I have taken people at their word. I have done that before. I'm like, yeah, nah, I believe them when they say that. And I've paid the cost for it. And I think that that's what happened to Cole in this case. And here is why I further believe, because I talked about this as well too. Some of the conversation has been, does Drake have a classic album? And pretty unanimously, I see people say things like, Take Care is his classic album. Dare I hit you with another conspiracy that Take Care has used J. Cole's song In the Morning as the blueprint? Most of us may not know, if you're not a J. Cole fan, that In the Morning, while it is present on the sideline story, In the Morning is significantly older than the release of the sideline story. Because In the Morning originally was on Friday Night Lights. So before we have any conversation, especially if you're a Drake fan, don't come in here and try to make the argument that the timeline don't make sense, because I'm making this statement on purpose. The sideline story came out later, but when the sideline story came out, I remember specifically when I heard In the Morning, I genuinely believed, because I became a Cole fan later, I genuinely believed that Cole was inspired by Drake, only to find out that when Cole sent Drake In the Morning, it was years before. And Drake specifically told him, because he talked about this on his Inevitable podcast. He said, when I heard this song, I fired my whole team. And then later, you have the production of Take Care. And he goes on to win a Grammy. That's something to talk about. That is a conversation. So when it comes down to like Drake doing nice things for Cole, is because I'm like, yeah, Cole, he's using you, sir. You are being exploited, sir. You are a victim. And here is what makes it worse. When I see Drake's behavior now, I believe that more today than I ever believed that. Because I don't know if you've been watching the rollout of Iceman. Don't you find it interesting that things like burner accounts are coming up? Don't you find this interesting, like the drawing out of like the handwritten notes in the studio? You don't think that that's interesting? Does that not stand out to you? And I feel like it's so important for Drake to do better than his beige counterpart, because him being the number one guy is important to him. And while he can't beat Kendrick in blackness per se, he's usually had no problem being in front of Cole. But when I look at the fact that Sexy Songs for You, which is not necessarily a Drake album, but is an important indication of the taste of him these days. You know, that 250 something don't look quite like the 280 something that Cole pulled off. And so this is why I'm saying I don't really want to hear him rooting for Drake no more. Because I'm like, I don't think that Drake has your best interest, babe. I don't think he's looking out for you. But let me be clear. I'm not saying that Kendrick is his friend at all either. Let me say that as well. Because if Kendrick knew all of this shit and you shot through Cole to do what you did to Drake, to then go on where he wanted you at Dreamville Fest and everything, to then go on and have the run that you've had, you absolutely deserve it. But you did it on the condition that you blew through pause somebody that you was cool with. That don't taste good either. That don't taste good either. So I respect and appreciate the willingness and the ability to show up. But I'm like, yeah, like Cole, I think we have to have a conversation about these men is not your friend, bro. And this is where, because I'm gonna come back and have this conversation a little bit later. This is where Joey Badass was talking about they gatekeeping the lyricism, like the lyricism rap. Now I have a completely separate thought on that, and I might do something different. I'm gonna do something different because that could be a run on its own. This is where that conversation kind of represents and bubbles up in a way where I'm like, yeah, no, I think he's right. Because everybody got so fixated that there only could be one, that it looks like the big three got real grimy. And Cole was the person that everybody was blaming for, which is interesting, but makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. It's like it had to be Cole's fault. And his biggest fault was being too nice and trying to unify them. and trying to show love to people that don't got love in them in the first place. But that's my thought. I would love to hear what you think. Please leave a comment. Talk to me. And again, keep it cute, keep it respectful. If you weird, I'll probably just leave like a blueberry or something like that underneath your comment. But talk to me. Bye.